Hello and welcome to Empower, the program that spotlights women who are making progress and impacting the society and, of course, the globe at large. Today, we have with us a remarkable and wonderful woman in the studio with us, and she is Jade Ogbeh. She is the co-founder of Yellow Door Hotels, a fast-growing boutique hospitality brand redefining comfort and service in Nigeria. From a single service department, she has built a collection of boutique hotels and lifestyle spaces in Abuja, including the living room. She's also the co-founder of Yellow Door Academy, focused on developing the next generation of hospitality talent as she builds proudly African brand with global ambition. It's good to have you in the studio with us, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here.
And you look radiantly beautiful.
Thank you.
All right, ma'am, let's start off at the beginning. What first pushed you to start the Yellow Door Hotels, and what gap did you see in the hospitality space to push you to start Yellow Door Hotel?
Okay, so Yellow Door wasn't intentional in the sense that we set out to start a hotel. At the time, the first building that we used was my husband's office, who's also my partner in the business. And it was during the craze of serviced apartments, or Airbnbs as they would call it. And there was some extra space. Tried out one room, and I think like the second guest that booked it out for about 5-6 months. And then we did another room and something similar. So we're like, okay, I think there's something in this business. And that's kind of how it started. But there was the gap that I think was in the market that I really wanted to fix was the customer service side of things. So even from going to supermarkets to even other restaurants, right, the service just wasn't great. And I couldn't for the life of me understand why service was so bad moving, back to Nigeria. So it's something that I really wanted to find a way to fix and showcase how it can and should be done.
Oh, interesting. Tell us about your journey. I love the fact that you said it wasn't planned, and of course you started with just the one service department. Tell us, how did you grow from that into a recognizable boutique brand?
The short answer, I would say intentionality.
Okay.
I think my personal drive has always been whatever it is I'm doing, I'm going to do it well. So regardless of what space I was going to be in, I was going to aim to be the best at it. And I think that kind of has shown, or that has proved that, if you are intentional and committed to something, you can grow it, regardless of what the environment or terrain is saying.
Interesting. Yeah. Whenever you build something, there's this idea you have in mind, that what you want people to feel when they walk into your space, or the idea you want people to have about your brand. And now let me throw that question to you. When people walk into a Yellow Door space, what do you want them to feel immediately?
I want them to feel a level of warmth when they come in. So even the reception, how they're received from the gate to the front desk, that's for the hotel. And then when you walk into the room, I want you to be able to, a sigh of relief, right? So you walked in and you really can feel comfortable in the space. I think that's a big one for us. And it's the same thing in the restaurants as well. You've had a long day, you're not in the mood, but you come and your mood and your spirits is lifted by the service you receive, by the food you eat. And I think that's like a big one for us, to really help shape how people should feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you gotten any feedback from?
Absolutely, all the time.
Okay.
In fact, maybe it's the feedback I'm actually feeding off of. But typically the feedback is when they've come into either Yellow Door or the living room, the feeling is different, right? Like it's a feeling they don't necessarily get in other spaces in, let me say Abuja, let me not say Nigeria.
Okay.
And they really enjoy that feeling. So, our return customer rate is about 70-something%, which is pretty high for the industry.
How does that make you feel?
Happy, proud that we set out to achieve something and we're achieving it. I think, I think it's pride. I'm happy that we're doing that, and it's beyond us and making money, and we're trying to look for ways to expand this.
Okay, well, you work with lots of teams. You have Yellow Door Space, you have Yellow Door Apartment, Yellow Door Hotels,
Hotel, yeah.
yeah, and apartments. So of course you work with quite a number of teams, and you're known for hands-on leadership. Now tell us, with the knowledge you have of leadership and the experience you've gotten, how has that shaped the way you build your teams?
That's a good question. I think one thing I found with leadership is it has to be dynamic, right? So how I led last year isn't necessarily how I'm going to lead this year. You kind of have to go according to what your team needs at that point. And that's something I'm learning along the way is that, hey, this is my leadership style, but things happen and there are shifts and, you know, you go through seasons, even in your business, and you have to learn how to adapt your leadership style to fit what you're going through. So, yeah.
All right, still talking on leadership. I believe, of course, experience is the best teacher, and you've been in this industry and you've been a leader for a very long time. Now, share with us, what has been the hardest leadership lesson you've learned so far throughout your leadership journey?
The hardest leadership lesson.
I know there might be more, so lessons, you could just pick one or two and share with us.
Okay, so I don't know if this is a lesson per se, but one thing I learned the hard way was that no matter how much you pour into an individual, into people, they're their own people and they have their own trajectory in life. And sometimes they end up leaving. And I think that was something I wasn't necessarily ready for. When you pour into people that you feel like share the same level of ambition and see the vision and see the drive, and you believe are keyed in, you know, for a relatively decent amount of time, not forever. I mean, at some point you're probably discussing shares in the company with this person, and then it just doesn't quite work out. That was something that I didn't expect initially, but I've since learned to manage my expectations, and yeah, I think I've learned to manage my expectations and not be too emotional about decisions and people, right? So we're here, there's work to be done. Today might be Tunde, that is for the journey, and tomorrow it is Kike. And we just kind of have to play along with that. And whenever that Tunde's season has ended, the next person steps in and we just continue to move the ball forward.
Very important.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking about hospitality for a moment, and permit me to say, the hospitality sector has a lot, a lot. Of course, there's a good and there's the bad of it, and we're just glad that we're talking about the best part of it now. Now you have an academy. What do you think is missing in today's hospitality workforce? Let's bring it down to Nigeria. Let's not broaden it. What do you think is missing in today's hospitality workforce, and what can the academy do, or what does the academy aim to fix it? It might not be something you're already doing, but something probably you aim to, you've seen it in the hospitality sector, and you feel that the academy can actually treat this problem and, you know, fix it.
What I think is missing, I think several things are missing, but I think one that is very key is committed people that actually genuinely love hospitality. I think hospitality is somewhat seen as a fad now. You know, like you have people that come for interviews. They don't really care for people. They don't care about attending to people. They don't care about making people happy. But they've heard that this is where it's happening, so they've shown up for the interview. I often say that Nigeria is not a naturally hospitable state, right? We're not a country that's big on tourism, for instance. So if you think of the likes of Kenya and other countries where hospitality is ingrained in their blood, they have a huge tourist side of the country. So by default, when you're born, you are learned to treat your fellow visitors well and treat them with love and respect and kindness. So it's in their blood, and it's not necessarily in our blood here, which I came to find out the hard way. And I think that is something that we need to fix from, I guess, the root. So even before you come into hospitality, do you like people, right? It sounds kind of crazy, but literally, you know, I got to some point with a group of people that I was training. They were actually waitresses, and I had to ask, I was like, how many of us actually like people, right? And you'd be surprised, like 2 people didn't raise their hands. And I'm like, so why are you here? you know? So they're seeing it as a paycheck, right? But we need people that are actually passionate about the job, because if we're trying to execute the level of hospitality that we want to really give, it comes from within. You can't fake it, and you can only fake it for so long. Inevitably, you know, the cloak will fall off and we'll see you for who you are. So I think that genuine care for the work, the line of work, is what is kind of missing. If you look at the West, like you go to some restaurants and or even hotels, and people have been there for 5, 6, 7 years, 10 years. They're wearing it as a badge of honor. You know, I've been here. I was here when they first started. My grandmother was this, you know, in this company. We don't really find that here. Like it's a trend, it's a fad. I'm in and I'm out. So just trying to, I guess, stabilize the industry, I think, is important. We're all filtering through the same set of people. Somebody lives here today, they're in your restaurant tomorrow, they've gone somewhere else. Yeah.
And that's really sad, and I think that has played a huge gap in the hospitality sector. Let's even bring it out to restaurant. You know, you made mention of waiters, and I've seen situations where waiters are very rude. They are literally so angry. Like, you know, you don't have to say something before you can be tagged as rude. From your facial expression, your body language, you just know this person doesn't want to be here. And just like you said, I think it's a misconception or a mindset that the system has already put in place. So when you're done with school, you can't find any other job. Why don't you run into the hospitality sector? And people even forget that people go to the university to study hospitality as a course in its own. And well, it's just, it's sad, and I'm just super glad that you talked about this and that the academy is aiming at fixing that. We look forward to more academies as this, so that we could have hospitality as it sounds. We could literally, it could be palpable. We could see that people are really being hospitable to you know, the guest and whoever comes in.
Thank you. So sorry, can I add something?
Yes.
So even when we go for trainings or assessments in other restaurants or hotels, we'll very often tell them that, you know, we've done an assessment, we've seen some traits in some of your staff that we don't think is beneficial to your company. And just to buttress the point that we're not training just to train and collect money, we'll literally tell you like, hey, we don't believe, we wouldn't even like to go ahead to train these sets of people. We also don't want to be in this game of wasting our time. And the issue is that when you can have a group of 20 people and you have 5 rotten eggs, those 5 have major impacts on those other 20. So we try and separate those guys. And, you know, again, I'm not asking you to fire all your staff, but just be mindful of the fact that we have stated that these people may not get the best out of the training. And, you know, we want to focus on people that actually do genuinely care for the work and for the business.
Great. That's a great thing you're doing, Ms. Jade. We'll be going on a short break now, and when we return, EmpowHer continues. Stay with us.
For 2 seasons, Timeline has taken you on a journey of exploring real-life issues and solutions. Well, we are on to season 3 of Timeline, a space where we talk about real issues shaping our world. Here, we sit down with voices that matter, with people who are driving change and making impact. We are talking about more than just problems. We're talking about the attainment of our collective commitment, the global goals, the SDGs, and of course, our community-specific targets. Our conversations aren't just about highlighting problems. They're about finding solutions that truly works, solutions that touches lives and impact the globe. An appraisal of how close we are in meeting our global and community targets. We create rooms for honest, thought-provoking conversations, a ride that you wouldn't want to miss. Well, this is Timeline, where conversations lead to solutions that change lives.
Welcome back. This is EmpowHer, and we have Jade Ogbeh, the founder and CEO of Yellow Door Hotels. It has been an amazing conversation, and I love that we still have some time left to have more of this conversation. Now, you often say Africa is the next, or Africa is next, rather. That's a good phrase, I would say. But tell us, what does that belief mean to you as a founder and as an African lady also?
Africa is next. So I was born and raised in the States. I've lived there. That's kind of all I knew for a while. When I moved to Nigeria, and I am from Nigeria. When I moved here, I saw that it was really virgin land. And I think a lot of us that move back kind of have that feeling and you want to come and change Nigeria, and then you're very quickly hit with the reality of potentially why things are the way they are. But what I'm noticing is that this shift that we're looking for, right, is not going to happen without people getting involved. And what we're seeing now are some, I'll call them like conscious minority people, very few people, but they get it. And they're passionate about moving the country forward, right? I often say that you can sit here and be calling on the president and all the ministers from today to tomorrow, but what have you done in your own community? What have you done on your street, right? You're looking to the leadership to do, and we've done this for the last 60-something years. It's time for us as individuals in our own spaces to kind of build the Nigeria that we're looking for. And that's what I mean by, Africa is next. There's so much we can do. And I think even just showing the progress that we've made with Yellow Door and Living Room and the feedback we get is we have to do it ourselves.
The Yellow Door is a brand that is ultimately going to compete globally, right, with all that global brand. Yeah, definitely. We believe that. How do you balance being proudly Africa while foreseeing that the brands you've created are ultimately going to compete on a global scale?
I think you've answered the question itself, right? Like, you're proudly African that this thing that you have built is good enough to compete on a global scale. I think that in itself that's the accomplishment. I think, there's been people are doing a lot of things. They're doing lots of great things. And, I'm seeing, even from influencing, how it's done and how some people are showing parts of Nigeria that we never would have imagined, right? And it's such a beautiful country, but we just haven't really shown, or even, when the West come in, they're not necessarily showing the great parts of the country. But again, it's us from within that are coming to show them, actually, no, we're not what you've defined us to be. We'll show you who we really are.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the beauty in all of this. And shout out to people that are doing it in their spaces. And I just really hope that more people rise and, be proudly African, proudly Nigerian.
Yeah. Coming from an African woman, a Nigerian to be precise. That's amazing. There is no business that's been, built to the height that Yellow Door currently is without any challenges. And I know there are ladies out there, they're having quite a tough time in their business. And you're wondering, look at this pretty woman in black and gold, and look at her business. She's doing so well. How has she been able to scale up to, the heights that she is now? And of course, this leads me to my next question. What has been your biggest challenge in your business in Nigeria? Let's take it out of Africa now. Let's bring it to Nigeria. What has been your biggest challenges?
Wow. There are many challenges.
Of course.
Many, many, many challenges. I kind of have to be careful with what I say so it doesn't, I don't get negative backlash. But the truth is, there's a lot of resilience that is involved in being a leader in Nigeria. There are a lot of things that don't necessarily work in your favor, and you have to find ways to push past those things. I often say that we are many countries in our different spaces, right? So in hospitality, or even in Yellow Door and Living Room, you find that you are your own government almost, right? Sometimes you may have light issues, water issues that you shouldn't really be having. You have to push past. You have to pay for the things that you've already paid for, you are being taxed for, that are not really being done. And I'm really trying to watch my words here. So there's that side of things. But then even on the business side, I think one of the toughest things has been personnel, human beings, right? Again, you have this vision, you're trying to achieve something, and it's in your mind and you put it on paper. But ultimately, I can't be in every space, right? So you hire people to help execute on this vision, and sometimes they get it, and sometimes they completely drop the ball. And it's very disturbing because it's a customer-facing business, right? So literally every day, you have the chance to either do excellent or potentially mess up. And I think that in itself is like, your heart rate is constantly high. You just never know what today is going to be. But thankfully, we built systems, there's structure in place. But there's still human beings that, implement and run these systems, and just ensuring that they're doing it as best they can or to the standard of the business. So personnel has been the most challenging thing. But we're overcoming every day.
It's going to scale through, definitely.
Yeah.
People would usually say, well, it's not much of a controversy anymore as it was back in the days, but they would say when a woman has a business, one part of her life has to suffer. Either her family, her kids, or herself. She would literally leave herself so to focus on her business, or she has to focus more on her family, or and all of that, because maybe some persons even have that notion that women cannot multitask. We can multitask when it comes in the sense of family, but when it comes outside of family, to just believe that women cannot multitask, we are not built that way. Now, seeing a woman in business, and of course you have family, you have friends, and of course you have to cater for yourself also. How have you been able to balance all of this and making sure that none of it suffer? Or do one of it suffer?
That's an interesting question. I think at any given point, the scale is tilted in one direction or the other, right? Very rarely is it really balanced, especially with work life and family. But I think the balance is in structuring each part of the thing, right? But I will be honest, and I will say that, sometimes when it's either family time, maybe parts of the business may be suffering, right? So if the business calls for something and hey, it's family time, I have to put that on hold, and even vice versa. But it is being intentional about having a structured routine, I think is really helpful, especially with family. I mean, I have young kids. I need to make sure that I'm really there and present for these informative years. Also, even sometimes I bring them into work, right? That's the balance for me. Sometimes, just come and meet me in this place, and I'm seeing them and I'm giving them stuff to do. And that's a form of family time, right? My son is 7 and he works at the living room on the weekends. So he's also getting experience while also, this is also considered family time. So it is just finding a balance in the routine. And again, at any given point, the scale is tilted in one direction. When you're very ambitious and driven and you have a goal, you know what it means, that there are odd late hours, odd times that you're doing things. But there's always a bigger picture in mind. And it's the same thing I do with motherhood as well. I know I want to be a great mother. I know I want my kids to have, a great upbringing. How can I balance both of these at the same time?
Talk about a superwoman. We see that women can now balance, right? So the mindset should drop. This should be your takeout. Get. Well, we are moving on. We are wrapping up rather. But before we finally call it a close, looking ahead, what kind of legacy do you want Yellow Doll to leave?
What kind of legacy do I want Yellow Doll to leave? I think I would want Yellow Doll to be the first hotel brand coming out of Nigeria, right? So let's say globally recognized hotel brand. So we have a chain and we've done something that is recognized globally. That's one of my wishes. I mean, I'd said when I think we had 3 rooms at the time, right? And my prayer was that the business at the time would grow to be a household name, right? Very ambitious because we only had 3 rooms, but we're actively working towards that.
See, well done. We are hoping to see that soon.
Thank you.
I just want you to do something quickly. You're just going to look into your camera and speak to a lady that probably is in a, maybe just, I don't want to put an age to it because anybody can find purpose at any age, but a lady that is here to discover purpose, a lady that wants to build business, but it seems very difficult. She's probably facing challenges now, and it seems like this can never amount to anything. I just want to speak to her as a big sister, or even speak to him as a big sister, to just give them a word of encouragement. To just look into your camera and do that.
This one?
This one.
Okay. Dear young lady or young man who is embarking on this very difficult journey of entrepreneurship, I want you to start by really asking yourself why you want to even go on this journey. And once you found that answer, I think I want you to imbibe the spirit of excellence, right? In whatever it is you're doing. You could be selling pepper on the road. How are you being the best at that? How are you being excellent at what you're doing? And the journey is not going to be easy, but it is a very rewarding journey. One that you will look back on and really enjoy. It's one that molds you. It's one that really exposes areas of you probably never would have experienced. It's a beautiful journey, so come along on the ride. But again, just always have the spirit of excellence. Whatever it is you're doing, do it well. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Jade Ogbeh. Okay, finally. We're going to be reading a report from UN Women. I just want to get your opinion on it. All right, the report says, according to a UN global report on women in tourism as of 2018, that's their latest, they've not released any other one, women continue to represent a large proportion of the tourism workforce. That's about 54%. And of course, the source is UN Women. Well, this should put a smile on our face because now women are like at the forefront. But tell us, what's your opinion on this?
I love it.
Okay.
I love it. Hopefully the numbers are higher now. I think, tourism, hospitality is a direct reflection of the nature of a woman, right? We're naturally nurturing and caring, and it makes sense that we'll be the ones dominating in the space.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right. Once again, thank you, Jade Ogbeh. It has been such a remarkable and a very interesting conversation, I would say.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Pleasure being here.
Well, that's where we draw the line on Empower. Until next time, stay healthy, stay reasonable, and stay woman. God bless you.